John. Is football season back for us?
Let's get this show on the road, man.
I don't even know what we're calling this show, but it's the boys are back in town as far as I'm concerned.
This is our team previews.
Oh
team
my
preview episode.
Goodness. Episode 1 of the team previews. We've got
2024 season.
And it's back in full swing. Our draft is done. Our rookie draft is done in our league. And there was a lot of studying that went into this offseason. And I think we need to show everybody what our studying has led us to,
Yep. Yeah, a lot of learns, a lot of takeaways from last season. A lot of interesting breakdowns, which we'll share on the show today as well, between stats and things like that. So I'm excited to share that as well. Like and subscribe. Sully, give us the like and subscribe.
Ching, ching, ching. Like and subscribe. Let's go.
You meant to go through our channel names.
Oh yeah, we would go through the channel names. Yeah. Sure. Hit us up on it. Hit us up on Instagram. Hit us up on YouTube. You know where to find us. And if you are using Apple Podcasts or any other Spotify, you can find us on there too. So give us a follow. And hopefully from this point on, we start making you some money this year. That's what this is about.
Last season was good. Last season was a good season to kick off.
Yeah, I mean,
expect more this season.
It's tough to expect more. I think we generally finished over. You probably have the stat, being the stat guy that you are, but I know you were hovering around 70%. I was somewhere in and around the 65-68% mark. Pretty hot.
I'm going to track it a lot more closely this season, I think.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So we'll have like the actual Thursday night. I'm going to still be doing my Thursday night preview, and then we'll have season kickoff. I'm going to do one which you're welcome to join as well for the Brazil game. And I want to try Monday Night Football as well, if it's going to be possible. I'm not sure yet.
I'm more excited than any of that. That all sounds great, John.
Yeah.
But preseason's coming and rookie horniness is coming. Yeah. This is where we start to see all everything that happens in mini camp moving into preseason, and we get real excited. And then we could start, paving a landscape for the future of what our betting expectations are going to look like. But we have an early preview about to go on right now. And how's this format working, John? So we've got 5 teams that we're going to cover today?
Okay, so we're going to do team by team previews. We've basically got an episode between now and February every week, give or take. There's a couple of weeks that we'll have off as well in between. But we're going to be bringing breakdowns of each team. We'll go team by team. We're going to go alphabetically as well, because I'm so over the division by division breakdown. I like to mix it up all the time. And I find that what we'll do here, we'll talk about how the teams went defensively last year. We'll talk about their rank, talk about their offseason additions, their NFL draft additions, and then just like notable players as well. So today we're going to start with the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Ravens, and the Bills.
I love it so much.
And just talk about what we learned last year, what we should have done better, what we did do really well, like bets that we were just all over.
All right, let's get started with the Arizona Cardinals.
Hell yeah. This is a really interesting team too. They've made a few really interesting offseason additions, and they were actually kind of more exciting than I think people thought last year.
Yeah, to be honest with you, there wasn't really that many boring games from Arizona. And I think statistically, when you watch what happened against Arizona, that was probably one of the more exciting things, watching literally them get trounced on the ground. In the ground. Just like disgusting. Yeah. They got run all over. And so, anytime you have something like that happening, it's an exciting game. And they had a couple miracles coming out from a whole bunch of different positions. And to be honest with you, I don't see a lot of those players trending in the ones that were there last year, trending in the same direction this year. But the additions that have been given to Arizona, I think, are going to be the ones that really top the charts. And I think honestly the entire fantasy community is just about ready for everything that Arizona brought to the team.
Yeah.
But John, you want to kick us into that?
I think they're going to be a lot more interesting. So I'm on Action Network at the moment. I'm looking at their season over under. Their line is 6.5 wins. And I actually really don't mind the over on that.
Oh, that's such
Think
in the
about
wheelhouse. Like that's got you by the balls. Like it's tough. That's six
yeah,
and a half.
7. Yeah, but think about some of their wins last year. So week 3, plus 12 favorites against Dallas. They won that game. Plus 13 favorites against, sorry, underdogs. Like I should say underdogs against Philly week 17. They won that game outright. Like
Yeah,
they beat the Steelers, the Falcons, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. That's impressive.
it is, but like those games almost just like felt like if the Cowboys were going to lose a game, that was the game they were
Yeah.
like. It felt like coming into that week, and I don't know why it just felt
Yeah.
like that for me, but like I had a hard time with selecting the winners and losers over and unders with Arizona
Yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
which is why we don't even really talk about this on the show. But I
Yeah.
had a very hard time
Yeah.
judging like
Yeah.
what was going to happen with Arizona because from week to week, that team looked like an entirely different team.
Yeah. It was. That's so true. You know, like if you look, so if you bring up their defensive play from last year, which you'll be looking at now on the screen. So the things that stood out to me the most was the run game. Arizona's run defense was so bad. If you
Atrocious.
bet the over on every opposing running back's rush attempts, except for week 9 against Cleveland, basically from week 3 onwards, you would have made so much money. So much money. And if you actually have a look as well, under the quarterback ranking, you've got the passing attempts and the passing completions. Teams were game planning this. They knew that you could.
They were firing.
They weren't throwing the ball. You know, like Matthew Stafford, his line for pass attempts was 37.5 in week 6, and they was not even close. They had no plan in doing that. Same with like
Kyron Williams,
Baltimore. That's it. Everyone was rushing on them. One thing that was really interesting though was their cornerback. So this must have been, was this, I'm trying to think, Budda Baker or, hang on, let me bring him up on our lads. Yeah, Budda Baker. He was playing really, really well last year. So wide receiver ones for teams were not having any success. Puka Nacua, week 12, couldn't get it done. George Pickens, week 13, couldn't get it done. They were shutting down.
I love how you kind of half laughed when you said George Pickens there, like treating his last season like he was
it wasn't Deontay
WR1. Come on. Yeah,
No,
both of them. No, the Steelers were fucking doo-doo.
Yeah, exactly. DK Metcalf couldn't get it done. AJ Brown couldn't get it done. DJ Moore, like these were guys that we were regularly betting the over on, and Budda Baker was shutting them down. So I'm going to be really interested to see how they perform in that perspective as well.
Yeah. I think the divisional games are going to be ground and pound still this season. Every time the Rams or the Seahawks play the Cardinals, I just kind of prepare for overtime and a tie game.
Yeah, basically.
Like it just kind of feels that way, you know? Like every time they play each other, it's so ruthless, like trenches football. I don't even remember the last time there's been an air raid kind of game against a divisional opponent. So, at least you know that there's going to be, at least a third of the season is going to be hard-nosed football. And you just brace for it. But do you think that the Cardinals go back to throwing the ball more than running it? Do you think that they go back to a place where they try and control the clock? When it was Cliff Kingsbury there,
right?
Legitimately, the script was it doesn't matter how many yards get pushed against us, we're going to try and get more.
Yep.
So do you think that this team leans more in that direction, John? Or statistically, do you think that this team leans more in favor of, hey, do we try and control the clock more? Are we going to be a more balanced team?
Yep.
What do you think?
I think Jonathan Gannon definitely wants to be a more balanced team. It was interesting. So Drew Petzing, their offensive coordinator, that was his first season last year, and it was not bad. Like if you look at Kyler, he came back week 10. And from there on, he did take a while to get started. A lot of these betting lines. So he started out at around 240 passing yards, and he wasn't hitting those. So they dropped it down to about 220 for the final 4 games of the season. And he went over nearly all of them as well. His pass attempts went over, and his pass completions went over their prop lines of 21.5 last year. So you could see they
Trend
back in. They had their bye week, week 14, and then they were like, let's let it rip. And I think with the additions, if we talk about like off-season additions, they brought in Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's the biggest one on the board. That's the biggest. That's the biggest addition.
Yeah. So this is what we need to talk about. So their first 4 games of the season, Buffalo week 1, the Rams, Detroit, and then Washington.
They're gonna have to throw.
I really like Marvin Harrison for all of those games. Like,
what do you think? Week 1, he comes out and gets 100. What do you think?
Yeah, well, think about Buffalo, and we will talk about Buffalo pretty soon. Do I think he gets 100? No, but I think he'll have a line of around 65.5 receiving yards for a first
super
game.
High for a rookie. That's so high.
It is
got to be in the 50s.
But like, think about Buffalo's cornerbacks. Like, they let go of like Tre'Davious White, and the other guys. Like, they've got Rasul Douglas they brought over from the Packers. Taylor Rapp has come over from the Rams to play free safety for them. Like, there is not a lot back there. They drafted Cole Bishop, and he's listed as like one of the high-end free safeties for them. So there's not too much there stopping them. And I think that the Cardinals might actually have a decent run week 1.
Yeah. I mean, I think that game is going to be a lot closer than the books are going to call it.
Yeah, I think so as well. Exactly. Because I'm wondering, like, we'll talk about Buffalo soon, but are Buffalo going to start to trend down?
I think for a season or 2.
Yeah, I think so.
I do too. I do too. I think this might be the year that the Bills, if they do make the playoffs, it's a squeak and a prayer.
Yeah. Hey, I've got something for you that I think might excite you. So, who are some fantasy running backs that you drafted in our rookie draft for the Buffalo?
I drafted Ray Davis because I think he's an absolute stud, and I didn't even care what team he went to. John knows this. Like, dating back in the last season in college football, I've been super high on Ray Davis, and I think he just went to the perfect spot.
And what was the Arizona Cardinals' biggest issue defensively last year?
I think that they had a really hard time stopping the run. Yeah.
So you could say
Ray Davis is going to come in hot.
I think it's going to be. I would love to see if this is Marvin Harrison versus Ray Davis week 1.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Yeah.
That's
for me.
Wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo scripted just a healthy dose of 3 running backs in a cycle.
Yeah. Who's their third? Is Latavius still there?
I'm not sure. I think Gore might be reading as the third, to be honest with you.
It's Ty Johnson.
And
then Gore's there, and Darrington Evans is there as well. So we'll see. Darrington Evans will probably get cut in training camp. But James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. That's a good run. So Cardinals from the NFL draft, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson on the defensive end. They drafted Max Melton at linebacker, and they drafted Tip Reiman at tight end, which I thought was interesting. He's more of a blocking tight end, so
it needed it though. They absolutely needed it.
The other guy I'm interested in is Trey Benson. So they've got James Conner and Trey Benson now, this sort of like 1-2 punch. And I think he's going to take a while to get started, but I'm excited. I'm excited to draft a lot of James Conner, and I'm excited to bet overs on a lot of James Conner rushing, because I think that their line is good. It's, Will Hernandez, Jonah Williams. They've still got Paris Johnson they drafted the year before last, and Evan Brown. So it's a decent line. Tip Reiman's a good blocking tight end. Out of which college did he go to? I can't remember. Let me bring it up. Yeah, he went to Illinois. So Illinois is a tight end factory there. And
so can we just touch on the running back position for a second for the Cardinals?
Yeah.
James Conner has always been an incredible running back.
Yeah. He's always
When
Underrated.
he's in the game, he's extremely underrated. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Dating back to his time in Pittsburgh, he runs super hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not the type of guy that's going to make a ton of defenders miss,
Yeah.
but he's going to get 3-4 yards
Yeah.
after contact.
Yeah.
His touch his I don't know if this is like a stat that can be pulled up,
Mm.
but I do know that every time I turn on the television when the Cardinals are playing, it
Mm.
seems like James Conner's in the end zone.
Right. Yeah. 100%
I
agree.
don't know how many tuds he got last year or
Yeah.
what he's got over the past 5 years,
Good question.
but
Yeah.
it's a ridiculous stat. I know it is.
Yeah.
They use him so much in the red zone. My thought process here is he's the most effective when he's able to make contact and get another yard or two. His
7
injury
rushing touchdowns last year. His first
yeah,
season of over 1,000 yards, 1,040 yards, 7 rushes.
yeah, they relied on him heavy, and that was a relatively healthy year for him. But the years prior have not been so healthy.
Right.
Even in those years, I think he scored more than the 7, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I remember games he scored 2 or 3.
He had 15 touchdowns
15
in
He had
2021.
15. Yeah, so he had 15. And what was the year before that?
6 in 2020, but he also missed
Majority of the year.
4 games. 2019, he missed 6, 7 games.
7 games.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you look at yeah, it is a while ago, but you look at where they're using him with his age being a factor and the wear. I do believe that Trey Benson will be utilized a whole heck of a lot more than a lot of people realize.
Right.
I think between the 20s, you've got a very healthy young back that has shown that he can muscle and he can run hard.
Right.
And let James Conner come in and do what he does best.
Yeah. And
bang out the extra 2 yards, bang out the extra 3 yards when you're in the red zone. When you're first and 10 from the 10.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that first run, at least you know you're getting over 3.
Yep.
Run them again. You know you're probably getting over 3, and then guess what? Run them again. And I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be super accurate, but my heart tells me that James Conner is going to have the best touchdown statistical year of his career in this situation.
Beautiful. But so exactly what you're saying. So from week 13 on for the rest of the season, James Conner has scored week 13, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 0 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown. So he had 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games of the season.
That's right. I think he's a touchdown a game. So I think I would peg him. I peg him. I would put money on over 16 touchdowns.
He was getting that's too many. He was.
No, I don't think it is.
A ton as well. 25 attempts, 26 attempts for 128 yards, 27 attempts in weeks.
Where the attempts are going to come
for 150 yards.
That's honestly where I feel so strong about James Conner, them keeping James Conner healthy and not utilizing him in a lot of the grunt role in between the 20s, the chewing the yards. I think you're going to probably see like a 30% decrease in the utilization in between the 20s.
Yeah.
And you're going to watch I don't think it can be increased because they really only had him, to pound the rock into the end zone. But with that being said, I honestly think they're gonna roll off of rush it 2 to 3 times when they're in the red zone and then play action. And you just keep you just keep pounding that.
Yeah.
Aside from Marvin Harrison, who that they're going to take a couple deep shots to, what does that receiving core look like for danger in the red zone?
I think because their other option is still just Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch are the other options there. There's Trey McBride as well, who's a factor. I think that this offense will be Kyler, James Conner, Marvin Harrison and Trey
That's
McBride
what
coming
I'm
into the
saying.
season.
So when you get into the red zone, what are you leaning on, right? And if you have double coverages set up against Marvin Harrison, which is going to happen,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And I think teams early on, especially, the best thing you can do if you're a defensive coordinator is to take a player that's unfamiliar with the NFL and stack a safety over the top, pull him in there, and let him learn what it's like at the NFL level. Like just double shadow him, make his life a living hell.
Yeah.
And if you can't get your number one receiver going early in a game, and if you get him off his game, then you're winning.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still stack a box and double cover somebody.
Yeah.
So you're man to man on the outsides, you're double covering, and you got the big boys out front. And I think they're going to face a lot of that to start the year. However, I think when you get into the red zone, it's exactly what you just said. It's Marvin Harrison is a read on those plays. Is it going to be Kyler, or is it going to be who they're handing the ball to? And I will put money, heavy money, on James Conner getting a lot of those opportunities. They don't owe him anything after this. I think this is last year of his contract.
This would have to be, yeah.
Yeah. So you're on the last year contract. You know that he's not going to sign for big money after this. He's pretty much toast.
Yeah.
He's pretty much toast. Hey, you're paying him.
Yep.
What are you going to do? Give him the fucking ball.
What I also want to just finish on is just a little bit of Marvin Harrison Jr. if we may. Because like I was alluding to earlier, these first 4 weeks look fantastic for Marvin Harrison Jr. Buffalo, LA Rams, Detroit, and Washington. So Detroit has only just drafted, who they take? Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. I think that they're going to take a while to get started. The Rams, who you could easily throw on last year, they added Tre'Davious White, who's a bit old and I think is nearly sort of.
Those divisional games keep me off.
Yeah, keep you out of it. And then the left corner is Darius Williams from they brought over from Jacksonville. Like there's not a lot I'm seeing here. And the same for Washington. We know that they were one of the worst pass teams as well last season. So I'm into, if they're going to start moving the ball like they did the end of last year with Kyler, I'm into Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure.
Me too. And just with nothing else really being a great option, right?
Yeah.
And he's a big body.
Week one, 65.5 yards, I think is his line. And I'm going to bet
take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Take the over.
Yeah.
And I think the whole world will be taking that. I think 65 is a little high, to be honest with you.
It is. It is for a first game.
It is. And I don't know if it will be 65. That's like a T. Higgins line.
Yeah. But
I don't know. Can you see that? I don't know.
Who else is going to be there? No one. There's going to be, and the corners are not good for Buffalo. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see. We will definitely see. Anyway, if I'm going to take a futures pick out of this entire team,
it
is the over on the touchdowns for James Conner, because I know that the number's not going to be 16.
It's going to be like 10. It'll be like
it's going to be probably less than 10.
Yeah, probably less than 10.
It'll be 9.
Yeah. And you're taking it up to 16?
Of course I'm taking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if I have the option to move that on a sliding scale, I'm telling you, I'll take it up to 15, no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm marking it right now, like James Conner, easy over 9, like easy, like sailing over 9 touchdowns this year.
I'm into it. Based on what he did at the end of last year, I'm very into this. Only thing that concerns me is he needed between week 10, all season, basically all season, his line for receiving yards was around 15.5. He went over it just twice.
Yeah.
So receiving is just not there.
No. Then that's not what they're paying him for.
Yeah.
Know what they're paying him for. This late in his career, you know what they're paying him for, and they want their money's worth.
Yeah.
I kid you not. He will get the ball more than 50% of the snaps that are in the red zone. He will get.
Yeah. And that's why I think Trey Benson.
Let me put money on that. Let me put fucking money on that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's too easy. It's too easy.
And that's where I think Trey Benson will come in between the 20s and spell James Conner every now and then, but I'm not worried about that at all for him.
Trey Benson's year is
next year.
not this year,
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah.
But he's still gonna have a great year. So like if you get a line, I think in the opening week of Trey Benson with like 20 yards or something like stupid like that,
Yeah.
like a Chase Brown line when he started playing with Cincinnati, like, hey, 15 rushing yards. Okay. You'd be a fool to not ride that hard at the beginning of the year. You'd be a fool. Because James Conner, they're not going to start the season with rushing James Conner 25 times because they don't have to, because they want to save it for when the guy's going to be in the red zone. So you're going to give the ball to the young, healthy guy that's proven that he can do it. And they didn't draft Trey Benson to let him sit on the bench. He's NFL ready. He's going to come in. He's going to get over his 15. He's going to get over his 20. And then by week 5, the guy's going to be sitting at 45, 50 yards, and then you could start going, oh, this is getting a little tight.
Right.
But those first couple weeks, ride Trey Benson, but ride James Conner to get into the fucking end zone.
That's
it. Yeah. And next, we move on to the Atlanta Falcons. John, what do you feel? I know you have so many feelings about this team.
I do.
I know that you do. I know that you do. From
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, your disdain for Kirk Cousins, all the way into, I know that a darling of yours was Drake London, also a darling of mine.
I've never been a Drake London guy. I'm too scarred from other big body throw it up, catch 'em guys, contested catch guys.
No, I feel like when Drake London was coming in, when he was coming into the league, you were excited for Drake London.
No. I was on Olave. And I was on Jameson Williams. You know who I love? Like my guy, I'm a big Penix guy. He's the one that I want to see succeed in this team. I love Michael Penix.
This is such a weird.
It sounds awful. I hope Kirk's not really ready to come back week 1 and they have to play Penix. I think that'd be excellent.
And he just comes out and drops, like pulls a Jameis Winston and just drops 60-yard bombs every third play.
Exactly.
Like just use the guy's strength and piss off the other team.
That's exactly it. All right, so let's look at the Falcons, their 2023 year. You may have it in front of you, so I'm just bringing it up now. They were very all over the place, very 50-50. They were good defensively to start the season. They had a bit of a lull through the season where teams were throwing on them. Again, teams were able to rush on them as well. Just talked about James Conner. He had a good game last year against them. Derrick Henry was able to rush on them as well. But so it's interesting, they were pretty good at their corners, and you can tell that AJ Terrell was having a fairly good year as well last season. So not a huge amount to take away. They move on from Desmond Ridder. They bring in Kirk Cousins, and they draft Michael Penix as well.
What an upgrade!
Yeah, they've still got Bijan Robinson and Taylor Algier. Although now that the man Arthur Smith is gone, and they've brought in Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson at offensive coordinator, it's going to be interesting to see how that shifts. Will Bijan be the guy? Will Tyler Algier still exist in this system? Because problem I have with Tyler Algier is he's so freaking talented. It's like, how do you not run him from time to time?
Well, you're gonna run him, but when you watched the film last year on Bijan Robinson, what do you think was the biggest strength that you saw?
His elusiveness and his explosiveness. So
I was going to say the exact same thing.
It's frustrating when running backs always want to cut it out to the outside all the time, because you kind of want them to go north to south rather than laterally all the time. But with Bijan, this is why he's different, because he'll cut it to the side and then he'll cut it north to south when he's ready, and he finds the holes and he's off.
Right.
Now, but they didn't give him the ball last year. His line was sitting around 16 and a half attempts, 15 and a half attempts. And he only went over that 3 times since
you and I were very frustrated last year on Bijan Robinson, myself more than anybody. Now, the games that I did take Bijan Robinson, I knew that we should take him because it was Arthur Smith's job on the line.
Yeah, on the line.
So, yeah, I mean, you could probably grab a clip or two of last season right now and put it in here of me saying, if you don't fucking run Bijan Robinson right now, you're fired.
Well,
They ran him, and they ran the hell out of him.
they didn't. They didn't. He got his scrimmage
his
nights.
line was over like 80 that game when it was listed at 50.
Yeah.
Like they gave him the ball.
But he had total scrimmage yards of around 80 and a half from week 10 on, and he went over it every single week except for 1 week. But he didn't always go over his rushing, so he was hugely
It was receiving.
Yeah,
It was receiving, and
receiving.
that's kind of what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at when I asked that question about what was his biggest strength. And I think you hit it right. You said elusiveness.
Yeah.
And with a player that has that kind of elusiveness, when it's a short yardage throw, you have a high percentage of breaking first tackle.
Yeah.
Now, if I know anything about Kirk Cousins, which love Kirk Cousins.
You love Kirk Cousins.
Fucking love Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. That's fair.
Love Kirk.
That's fair.
I don't love him for the downfield stuff. What I like is the smart decisions. I like that Kirk Cousins has a brain, a very good football brain. And I think from team to team that Kirk Cousins has played on, he has understood the talent of the players around him. And that's what's made Kirk Cousins stay in the league for as long as he has. He doesn't do anything extremely well except for make a good decision. And that's all you need out of a quarterback. You need a quarterback to make a good decision. And I will tell you what I think the best decision that you could possibly make is when you have the most elusive player on the field, when he's open and he's 4 yards away from you. You give him the fucking football.
One of the wild, like these stats are wild from Kirk Cousins last season. So he had 2 games where he didn't go over his line, which was sitting around 260, 270. He threw 300 yards or more. So like week 1, 2, 3, 344, 364, 367. He threw 378 in week 7 against San Fran, 284. He was throwing the ball a ton. The only time he wasn't when week against Carolina, he only threw the ball 19 times. And I mean, everyone was struggling against Carolina. And then against Chicago, 31 times. Like he was throwing the ball a ton. It's going to be interesting to see if they still get him to do the same. He was like overs for Kirk Cousins, just over.
I don't think they have to. I don't think they have to. Minnesota had to.
Yeah. So
that was a smart
to be more balanced.
Yes, way more balanced.
Yeah.
However, whatever the rushing total that they come out with Bijan, or receiving total that they come out with Bijan Robinson, definitively taking that to the moon.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it'll be 20 and a half. And I think I'm happy to take the over on that. It's just going to be interesting because the difference now
on the season, though. Like if I'm taking a futures,
I was going to say, because the difference for me now is Desmond Ridder's not there and he's not there to check it down all the time.
But he wasn't. And that was the thing that frustrated me the most.
Yeah.
The most. Okay, Bijan had 4 catches a game. Awesome.
Sometimes.
He should have had 9.
Yeah.
With the way that Desmond was playing.
Yeah.
He should have had 9.
Yeah.
It should have been Alvin Kamara. And the honest truth is he is the best pass catcher on that team. Now, everybody can complain. They can argue. They could tell me that Drake London has the most, the best ability to have a contested catch. They can tell me that Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, yeah. I was like, it sounds right. Michael Pittman sounds right.
Yeah, that Kyle Pitts has the most athleticism on the outside. And he does. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the actual ability to catch the ball in space and make something happen. He is the most elusive player on the field. He's probably the best player he's one of the best players in the league. When you watch his footwork and how he uses power to the outside when he wants to get around somebody, and he tiptoes on the inside, the feet get soft all of a sudden when he wants to dance somebody.
Right.
It's a generational talent. If you don't give him the football in space, you are failing your football team. And I'm going to beat this drum until this drum is disintegrated in front of me. Artie Smith had no idea what the hell he was doing with Bijan Robinson.
No.
Kirk Cousins, however, not calling the plays, but understanding talent on the field, which is the thing that has kept him employed, making millions of dollars when everybody goes, well, how the hell has Kirk Cousins made this much money in his life? Because he understands that guys like Bijan Robinson are as good as they are.
Hell yeah. Yeah. That's how
Give
you
him
make
the
money.
ball. Give
Justin
him the
Jefferson,
ball.
Bijan Robinson.
Give me the over. Give me the over on the season receiving total of Bijan Robinson. You can make it. You can make it 550. I don't care. Like, he's going over.
So, a couple of additions during the offseason from the NFL draft. So, they drafted Michael Penix with their first pick. They took in the second round Rook Orororo. They drafted Braylon Trice as well at linebacker. And Casey Washington as well at wide receiver was I guess a free agent or a late round pick as well. But other than that, there's not a hell of a lot. They brought in Darnell Mooney from the Bears as well. They brought in Rondale Moore as the receivers. So it looks pretty safe to say that this is going to be the Drake London, the Kyle Pitts show, the Bijan Robinson show. I think Tyler
Pitts
will
is
exist.
appetizing. It's very, very, very appetizing for the.
I'm interested. I say this every year, though. I keep getting burned, but I'm into Kyle Pitts again this year.
We all are, and he will be the one that continues to burn you for the remainder of your life. However, sure hands. Kirk Cousins is a safety thing.
Yep. Think about how much he used TJ Hawkinson last year as well.
Well, that's and Hawk did the same thing for the bankroll, right? Like you for a very long time. For a very long time, Hawk sat around 30 to 38 yards in a game.
Yeah.
And he did wonders.
Yeah.
At 30 to 38.
He was fantastic.
It's the first 3 weeks of the season. He's going to come in at 30 to 38.
Dude, his line was 50 to 55, and he was going over it pretty much every single week.
What, towards the end of the season?
No, at the start, before he got injured. Like,
no.
through the middle.
Oh, Hawk. You're talking about Hawk.
Hawkinson. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Pitts.
Oh, fuck. No. Kyle Pitts was 35. He was going over 35.
That's what I'm saying. But he's going to come in between 30 and 38 unless the odds makers go, no, there's no way. There is no way. But I don't think so. I think he'll be under 40. He'll be under 40.
Yeah.
And for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just ride that like a bull. Ride it like a bull.
I don't know, man. I'm going to give you the schedule. You tell me. They start week 1 with Pittsburgh.
Great.
Week 2, they have Philly, the Eagles. Great. Week 3, they've got the Chiefs. Week 4, they've got the Saints. And then they got the Bucks and Carolina after that. So that's tough. I think that's tough.
No, it's not. It's not for his position.
Mm-hmm.
Not for his position. Like, your talent's on the outside. Okay, I would be more scared about Drake London in a lot of those games than I would.
KC was one of the best defenses in the league last year.
Yeah, they were. They were incredible. Was it coming from the linebacking core?
Their linebackers were good. Their linebackers were really good. Who have they got? Nick Bolton, don't they? He's been playing really well.
What? So I don't know if you can pull
this quick. Actually, Pittsburgh were not as good as people thought they were last season.
No, they weren't. And you have quarterback rushing linebackers.
Yeah.
They're not made for coverage. So really the only team in there that would scare me a little bit is KC. However, I think if you were to pull the stats of tight end performance against KC over the past 5 games of the season, not including playoffs,
right,
I think you would be very surprised.
So, that's interesting. Now, I'm going to disagree with you that I think the linebackers are the problem for Kyle Pitts, even though he is a tight end. But I think he's more of just a receiving tight end.
Yes, so he gets matched. He gets matched with one of the smallest dimes because your big, strong, fast dimes are going to go to the outsides.
Yeah,
always.
Okay, so this Philly matchup looks intriguing to me because Philly, who were really bad at their corners last season, they added Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. We'll do a Philly episode coming up.
Yes,
they've still got
great added assets. Like, that team is going to be
and they brought back CJ Gardner-Johnson. So I don't know, but but week 2, I'm not sure that they're going to be ready to go. Their linebackers, they've elevated Nakobe Dean, who was not good in years past. They did bring in Devin White though from the Bucks, so
They
that is,
did.
yeah.
Hey,
We'll get.
hey, maybe he goes on a shadow, right?
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And you have the most elusive player in all of the NFL.
Back on Bijan.
This is what I'm saying. It's very tough because when you're a linebacker and your job is either to cover a zone or it's to cover a man, right? You got two choices. You're covering a zone or you're covering a man. And you get paired against Kyle Pitts on man to man. That's a tough order. That's a big
Right.
boy. That's a big boy. Not overly
Yeah.
fast, but a big boy, like good catch radius, good possession receiver, if he's used that way. Instead, last year they were just trying to make him run seams and just like they were not using Kyle Pitts properly for his
He
entire
was playing a
tenure.
lot on the outside,
Was.
and he had that preseason injury that just kept him back all year.
Yeah.
And I think he feels a lot better now.
Anybody on Atlanta, don't even show me last year's stats
Yeah.
offensively because I
Yeah.
don't care.
Sure.
I just don't care about any of it. Like it doesn't it like to me that was one of the worst displays of coaching that I've ever seen. I couldn't I couldn't put $1
Yeah.
on Atlanta except for the one game where I knew Artie Smith was going to get fired if
Yeah,
he
it was
didn't run
stubborn. Yeah,
if he
exactly.
didn't run Bijan. So like that was really it. Like
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I think the play calling goes an entirely different direction this year. I think it looks more West Coast. I think it looks
Yep.
more give the ball to the guy who's good around you quick. You know?
Yep.
Don't take your time because you're not going to have it. You got a tough schedule. Give the guy who's open the ball, who's closest to you. And
Yep.
fuck, that's gonna be Bijan. It's gonna be Kyle Pitts. So
My
no,
last two questions for you.
yeah.
My last two questions on the Falcons. So win total over under 9.5 is what
No,
actually
under. Give me the under.
said. Yeah, I think the under on that as well. Because I want to ask you, what week do we see Michael Penix come in?
We're not going to see Michael Penix come in
Nah,
this year unless there's an injury. No, we're not. I'm sorry to burst everybody's bubble. I think a lot of people are
It's
like
my
you,
bubble.
John, that are very excited to see Michael Penix. But
Yeah.
I think as long as Kirk Cousins is healthy, Kirk Cousins has never done anything in his career to tell you that he should be superseded by somebody. And it's
Right.
because of smart decision making in football. He's an incredible football IQ quarterback. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how good your fucking arm is. If you can't be in there making good decisions time after time, you're not going to get supplanted.
Yep.
You're not. Like Penix reminds me of Jameis Winston.
Yep.
And we all know what's happened to Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston could come back in as a starter right now.
I think Penix is a lot better than when Jameis came out from Florida State.
Maybe.
I mean, did Jameis go to the national title? I don't recall with Florida State. Can't remember. I don't think so.
Ways back. What's that, 2014, 2013?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Anyway.
But Jameis, baller. Penix, baller.
Baller.
Decision-making qualities, not the top of their scouting profile. I will tell you
they're good
that.
though. But think about you go from Rome Odunze to Drake London. Drake London fulfills the same role that Rome filled at Washington with the Huskies. It was very Keenan Allen's. You can go through the middle, you can go to the outside, you can bomb it from outside the 20s and score a touchdown in the corner in the back of the end zone. And London will do the same thing.
The NFL is a lot faster, and the NFL requires faster decision making.
Yeah, but still got a good
line. You that my profile personally, I'm not saying for anybody else about Penix.
Yeah,
was a lack of concise, quick decision making.
Yeah,
that's the knock. That's what I saw. That I'm not putting words in anybody else's mouth. That's what I saw when I watched the film. And Kirk Cousins is the exact opposite of that. And I will tell you that the Atlanta Falcons this season are going to be looking for consistency. You will not see Michael Penix this year unless Kirk Cousins gets injured.
Yeah, unless he's not ready.
Right, that's right, injury, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think there's much of a threat there. By the way that Atlanta wants to play this game because they did fantastic last year for given the circumstance on how atrocious the play calling was. The talent is there on that team. But fuck, the play calling was awful.
Yeah, they started strong, but they were 3-7 from week 8 onwards. They started 5-2 and then went 3.
They started 5-2. They started 5-2, and there was not good play calling in that 5-2 either. Like that was sheer talent that won those games.
Yeah.
So I mean, with better coaching, which they needed so badly, I think the team will be great. I don't think that they're going to win 10 games.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be great, though. Like, I think statistically, the ball will show up to where it needs to show up for the players to get consistent yardage. If you're going to think about a consistent team in the NFL, like a player that is going to get consistently the 30 to 40 that he's said to get, I don't think you're going to have a lot of dud games from players that are, oh, this guy's rated at, 35 yards and he only goes for 10. I don't think the game script is going to flip-flop and it's going to, like, I think they've got their set plays. Kirk Cousins goes into the week knowing that in the second quarter we're going to be pressing down the field and this is our game script. Like, we were going to control the clock from this time to this time. This is going to be the rushing time. He's a very smart football player, and the coaching staff is going to use that as much as they can. And I honestly believe that it will be one of the most consistent.
All right, let's move to the Baltimore Ravens.
It's very exciting, the Baltimore Ravens this year. They just came off a monster season where I think the entire community got extremely excited about pretty much every player that was on that roster, short of Rashad Bateman.
Yeah. One thing that I'm looking at that stood out to me, just looking at them defensively as well, and last year from a betting perspective, from week 9 through the divisional round, they covered the spread every single game except for one. So people were unsure about how they were going to go, and they were blowing expectations out of the water. There was a bunch of games, like last year was one of the lowest scoring years that the NFL has experienced since something like 2006, if I recall correctly. It was one of the lowest scoring years. They were one of the only teams to consistently go over their over-under implied total each week. Only week they didn't really do it in the back half of the season was against LA, where it was like 49.5 was the line and they couldn't get there in the end. But that was I think that was that Monday night game, if I recall correctly. Yep. And then they were choppy. Like, Lamar was awesome. Lamar wins MVP. That was exciting to see. Their defense was good. Kyle Hamilton was good, but then they were kind of lacking in a couple of areas as well. They're a bit weak at linebacker. But yeah, this is a team that I had a Ravens to win the Super Bowl ticket last year, and it just fell short. So
are you going to double down on it?
I don't know. I don't know that I want to.
I couldn't.
I don't know that they've made enough changes in the lineup for me to get on board with that. So they drafted in the NFL draft. They drafted Nate Wiggins. They drafted Roger Rosengarten, who's a good right tackle. They drafted Tez Walker. I'm interested by Tez Walker.
Has great presence on the field. I think that's a stud. That's a stud.
Yeah, and they're bringing in TJ Tampa as well. He was a good corner as well. So they've got Marlon Humphrey still. They've still got Kyle Hamilton we talked about. They have Kyle Van Noy. I think he's a bit past his prime. Adafe Owe at linebacker is really good, and Roquan Smith. I think that those two, Adafe Owe and Roquan Smith, I think they're going to be some awesome off-ball linebackers for them.
Hey, look, we know that the Ravens are going to be good defensively because they've never not been good defensively.
Yes, exactly. And there's no changes to the coaching staff.
And you said something there that there has been not enough changes to make them get over the hump. Now, I'm going to pull this offensively, and I'm going to take this to the MVP.
All right.
And I'm going to say that the biggest change that has happened is the weight of Lamar Jackson.
He's bulky, man. He's buff.
No. Go take a look. Google
really?
right now.
Last season, he was like the biggest he'd ever been. What am I looking at?
We're gonna type in Lamar Jackson, and you're gonna
Yeah,
type in weight.
yeah.
Pull up your most recent news article.
Uh, Lamar drops weight in an effort to be more agile
Okay,
from
so
ESPN
now
2 days ago.
so now look at the decision making that the Baltimore Ravens have done this offseason. What are the
Interesting.
biggest changes that the Baltimore Ravens have done this offseason to their offense?
To their
Let's
offense,
talk about their losses.
not a lot. So, I mean, who have they lost? Oh,
Look a
they
little
brought
bit
in
deeper.
Derrick Henry. Of
But
course,
look a little bit deeper. What did they
I
lose?
buried the lead.
What did they
What did
lose?
they? Oh, they lost Gus Edwards. They lost
J.K.
uh,
Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins. Yep, thank you.
Who else?
They lost Odell Beckham.
Okay. And so now
Who?
no, this is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's
So
it. Yeah,
let's
yeah, yeah.
let's let's look at how this personnel is actually going to look.
Yeah,
You've got Derrick Henry.
yeah.
You've
Oh
got
man,
you've got
I'm extremely excited for Derrick Henry
you've
this
got
year.
one of the greatest fullbacks in all of
Yeah,
football. And then you've decided to keep two tight ends that are both performing above average,
they're insane. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely,
and you're leaving
fantastic tight ends.
one wide receiver that is a stud.
So Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, they signed to an extension. I could not believe that. He's garbage.
He's not garbage,
He
but
sucks.
he's not. He's
Nelson
not.
Aguilar's all right.
He's not what everybody thought he was going to be.
He was not the first round pick that they took him for.
But he showed some promise as the season went on in blocking.
Mm.
So you sign him to an extension because the guy actually put his body on the line. Literally multiple clips of him laying out in front of people to let the running go. Now you think about what's actually happening, and I will ask this question on a professional level. If a professional athlete decides to go ahead and lose 14 pounds, why would a professional athlete go to lose 14 pounds? Everything
So
that they do.
You think it's going to be a big pass game this year?
No, I think it's the exact opposite. I think you have
really?
I think you have a very strong option game.
Yeah, but less Lamar running. My point.
Yes, I think this is probably going to be one of the last seasons that I think statistically you see Lamar run hard.
Yep.
He's getting there, right? He's getting there. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
But you looked in the backfield, and the two guys that you just replaced, all that yardage from J.K. Dobbins and from Gus Edwards, and now you're putting it in the hands of Derrick Henry. There's still not enough yardage. So you need an increase. You need an increase in production from Lamar Jackson in the rushing game. But what you've done is you've manipulated your offense to be better suited in two tight end sets who are guys that can block on the move and also be dump off options. You re-signed Rashad Bateman, who showed very good promise in his blocking as a receiver, and like took it gracefully because he was getting flack from the media like crazy in Baltimore for his lack of production in the passing game, yet still showed up every single game. And like everybody wants him to be a Brandon Ayuk, like a guy that can block and catch, and he can catch, but they didn't need him for that. Odell wasn't going out there and blocking. Nelson Aguilar it's a toothpick. You know, like you need a blocking receiver, especially in an option game. And
so you like Bateman for that? You know what's interesting about
but I love Lamar Jackson's rushing total.
What do you think it's going to be?
I don't know, but I don't care.
If I gave you 800, what would you say?
I mean, that's excessive. But I'm
looking at his last couple of years. So last year, 821.
Yep.
Before that, so 764, 767, and then 1005 and 1206.
Yeah. Okay. So hearing that out loud, I would take over 800. I would probably I would play that. I would play that too. Now I did the math on all the games and with the added game in my head too. As I said that it was ridiculous. It's not actually that ridiculous. That added game really helps.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, play it to 1,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'd be amazing. He'd have to win MVP again, even if he
He
did
might.
that 3 times.
He might. He might.
Nah,
And
I don't see it.
no, I know that you don't, and I think that a lot of people don't as well, and that's why I'm stressing this. This is a bold take, but it's everything that they are doing as an organization aligns
Yeah.
around Lamar Jackson having the football in his hands more this year than he did last year. And
Yeah.
I will bet the farm on it.
All right. So they open opening night against KC. They then go on to play week 2 against Vegas. They have Dallas, and then they have Buffalo week 4. That's
Tough. They got a good back half. They got a good back half of the year, but the front half is tough. But to be honest with you, I don't think it really matters. That guy has shown,
yeah, they're
and
competitive.
like I said, father time, like the clock is ticking on his career and his strengths.
He's only 27, man.
I get it. Where do running backs fall off?
About 30.
No, it's before then.
That's before then, but yeah, but I think like if you think about like Cam Newton, his shoulder became really a problem for him around 30, 31.
It was injuries, yeah, it
Yeah.
was, but he's not Lamar.
True.
Lamar is now even a leaner runner, right?
Yeah.
So the elusiveness of Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson is a strength in his game. His tiptoe ability, his ability to evade and move quick. And I cannot, for the life of me, with all of the decisions that have been made in this organization, see a situation that Lamar Jackson does not end up with more rushing yards than he did last year.
That's good, man. You fired me up. I'm keen to draft him in fantasy.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a great year for Lamar Jackson.
Hey, just before we move on to our final team, did you see who they added to the quarterback room to reunite with Lamar Jackson?
Who was it?
Our boy from last offseason, preseason, Malik Cunningham.
I love it. I love it so much.
He's back.
Could you imagine a Lamar Jackson injury and Malik's got to come in here and fill the shoes? I can.
He's buried on the depth chart, but I thought that was quite cool to see them back on the same team together.
I love it. I fucking love it. That's our boy.
All right, bring us home with the final team.
All right, here we go. Mafia. This is for you guys. The Buffalo Bills. Now, the Mafia probably won't want to hear what I have to say about the Buffalo Bills this year.
But they're interesting to talk about.
They are very interesting to talk about because I think the team is still insanely talented. I do.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure.
There's a lot of players on the football field.
Yes.
That's all I have to say. And the coaching staff understands how to utilize the players that they have on the football field. I think they're going to be better than a lot of the analysts think that they are, but I think they're going to be a whole heck of a lot worse than Bills Mafia wants them to be.
I think that they've taken a step backwards this offseason, in my opinion. So they brought in the NFL draft, I thought that their draft was not that good. They drafted Keon Coleman.
It's great.
Which they kept trading back for. And I'm not much of a Keon Coleman guy.
I was at the start of last season, and then after watching his last year in college, I feel like he did not apply the effort that Keon Coleman applied in the earlier stages of his college career. And I felt like he played
Michigan State.
He played lazy football last year, and it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, when he was at Michigan State, it was like, this is some good stuff. Like, this guy could really be something. And then when he went to Florida State, it was sort of like, if you just watch his highlight reels, you'd be like, oh my God, he must be up there with Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors. But then if you actually watch the game, you're like, whoa, like he's so polarizing. And
non-factor on a play-to-play basis until it was like, this is Keon's time to go fucking get a ball.
Yeah, and look, he's going from Jordan Travis to Josh Allen, so that is a step up. But
I don't think it matters if he's going to be lazy. If he's going to be lazy like he played last year, he is going to be such a dud.
Yeah.
But if the guy plays with heart, like we've seen him play, he is a very polarizing receiver. Very polarizing receiver.
Let me give you this receiving core. So Keon Coleman, we talked about. Curtis Samuel, they brought in. I actually really like that. I think I think he's going to have like the best year of his season.
I think he's going to take the James Cook receiving role.
Yes, I hope so. Khalil Shakir, he's a good player. He's not a star player. Matt Collins, they brought in. Chase Claypool, they brought in. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, they brought in.
It's getting real ugly, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Andy Isabella. It gets ugly quick.
It gets ugly quick.
And all of this is to say, there's one guy who I absolutely love. One Dalton Kincaid at tight end. He is the receiver. He is the receiver on this team.
He is the receiver. They have two very good tight ends. So you look at that depth chart, and if that does not scream two tight ends on the field at a time,
at all times.
I don't know what it does. Now, what does that also mean for the running game?
Well, so this is going to be interesting. So let's balance this. So Josh Allen and Mitch Trubisky's back as well. Mm-hmm. James Cook, Ty Johnson at running back, and Ray Davis are the three guys. And I think that, I think you and I differ here because I'm not a James Cook guy.
I am. Even though I love James Cook as a runner.
I was proven wrong last year. I'll admit that. He played way better than I thought he would. But don't be surprised if by week 4, week 5, this is Ray Davis' show.
It should be Ray Davis' show. Ray Davis has the skills to be a 3-down running back in this league, and it's up to him to lose this job. It really is up to him to lose this job. He won't start with the job in his hands, but I'm telling you that, you give a ball to a guy that can run 5+ yards a carry, like gracefully, and his explosiveness off the line. The one thing that James Cook, though, the one thing that he had towards the end of last season was patience, and it takes a running back in the NFL a long time to develop that type of patience.
Yeah,
and oh my God, when you watched him on the last 5 weeks going into playoffs, the patience level that he had in the pocket, like once he got that ball, he started to work his way towards the outside, and then the explosiveness that came off like right when he saw the cut, and that's an acquired skill in the NFL that you need to be a lot of trust has to be in you in order to get to that place where you have that type of trust, because a lot of the coaching staff is like, give him the ball, make him run, and drive, right?
So because there's just a couple more things, because the Bills, they're a really interesting team last year, and I think it'll be a really interesting team this year. So if you remember correctly, so they fired their offensive coordinator last year halfway through the season, and Joe Brady took over. Who was the guy before him? Can't remember his name. It'll come to me. Now it's gone. But once that changed, so Stephon Diggs, do you remember in fantasy, Stephon Diggs, over the first 6 weeks of the season, he was the wide receiver 2 or 3, I want to say. And then from week 7 onwards, he was the wide receiver 67.
It was awful. It was awful.
But it's not like anyone then took over and stepped up in place. It was just
that's what I was getting at with the 2 tight ends on the field. And what does that mean for the running game?
Yep.
So, truthfully, I don't think that they are going to be a very pass-heavy team this year. No, I think it's going to be about controlling the clock, lower scoring games.
Yep.
And they brought in Ray Davis for a reason.
Yep. Their season last year, so they started 3-1 to start the season. That's good. And then from week 5 through till their bye week 13, they went 3-5. So then they started performing really badly. And then if you recall, they then won the last 5 games of the season to make the playoffs. And I think they won the division as well.
On a grind.
That was all because of they changed their philosophical offense, their design. They got rid of their coach halfway through the year, and Joe Brady took over. Josh Allen, who his lines were at 260 passing yards from their bye week onwards. He only went over that one time.
Didn't have to.
Yeah, that was in week 18. That was against the Dolphins to make the playoffs.
And won't have to next year.
And I think that they'll continue to perform this way. I
agree with you, John.
Something they liked, and they were like, let's rely less on receivers. We'll get rid of Stephon Diggs. He's more of a problem. We'll develop Keon Coleman this year. He's not going to be the guy this year. And they'll lean heavily on James Cook, Ray Davis, and probably even Ty Johnson, I imagine.
Yeah, I can't see Ty Johnson being in that mix too much, to be honest with you. But I think between Ray Davis, when they start to realize just how dependable
Mm.
Ray Davis really is, and how you can use him for at least two downs,
Yeah,
at least, two downs,
yeah,
which his receiving skills can show that he can do three, but you got James Cook, and you know what James Cook's skill is. It is very much in the passing game
right.
and patience. So give him the ball when you're 3rd and 4, when you're 3rd and 5. He'll do
Yeah,
great things.
yeah,
But Ray, he knows how to make people. He punishes people in the pocket.
yeah,
You know, anybody like at first point of contact at the line. He last season showed truly what a power runner looks like, and I had zero thoughts against not drafting him when he was on the board for me
yeah. Hell yeah, he's
in the 3rd round.
yeah,
Like it was it was the most obvious pick that I could possibly make in my mind,
yeah,
you know? And there was a whack of teams that he could have went to, but like I said earlier, I don't think that there could have been a better position that Ray Davis or a better spot that Ray Davis could have gone than to
yeah,
Buffalo.
yeah,
With where they're trajecting, with the way that the way that the team is outfitted, the way that the coaching staff has been molded around, like this is a great spot for Ray. And as a betting person, I will take happily the 500 yards that they're going to give to Ray
yeah,
Davis
yeah,
to start the season.
yeah.
I'm happily going to take the over on that. Happily.
That makes me sad because I thought we were going to be able to do a little Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary
Well,
repeat
not
from last
today.
year.
Not
But it
today.
sounds like we're both on the Ray
Yeah,
Davis.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Not today, buddy. Not
okay,
today.
all right.
Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
we have
No,
done.
Ray Davis. He's like I said, I think that this is a massive diamond in the rough. I don't even there's not even a comparable that I have in recent years in mind. I
Yeah,
just know I know it when I see it. And
yeah. He
yeah.
kind of reminded me of like a bigger Doug Martin from back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
I saw
big
him.
muscle hamster. The
Yeah,
muscle hamster.
yeah,
Yeah, no, to
exactly.
be honest with you, that's actually a great comparable.
Yeah.
Um, However, I think Ray Davis is actually more talented than Doug Martin.
Um. Uh. No, I think Doug Martin was very good. I don't know.
He was really good.
Yeah, he
He
was.
was really good.
I think he was a high draft pick, wasn't he, Doug Martin? Can't remember.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, well, I for a running back, I guess. But
Who- So, sorry, just to start their season, they've actually got a pretty favorable schedule. So they go week 1 against Arizona, we already talked about. Then they play Miami, so it's divisional. They play
yeah,
Jacksonville, who they usually get the better of more often than not. And then they have Baltimore, but then they have like Houston and the Jets and the Titans. Actually, you know what? Actually, Houston's I think is going to be really good this year. So first 3 games look pretty good.
yeah, I think it's super favorable. And I mean, it usually takes a few games for a rookie to get going, except for
Yep.
when you're a running back. So
Yep, exactly. And so, we talked about the Arizona Cardinals and their terrible run defense from last year. Man,
here we
fire
go.
James Cook. I think James Cook will probably have a line of like, I want to say like 55 and a half.
Take him.
Yeah, I'm going to go the over there. And
Ray's gonna have 20.
Ray's going to have like 35. And I reckon
No, less,
take the over.
less.
Yeah.
He'll have less. Take
Take
the
the
over.
over.
Take the over.
Yep.
Take the over. Honestly, the kid's gonna cook from the start.
Yeah, what's interesting is I reckon Keon Coleman's probably going to have about 30 and a half, and I would
I don't
not
trust it.
wouldn't take the over, but I also wouldn't bet the under just because. And I think
No.
Curtis Samuel will probably have about 35 and a half based on last season, and I think he'll probably get that week 1 because Curtis.
I'd be interested to take his rushing totals at like 8 every game, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yep. 2-3 attempts for 8 yards sounds
Yeah.
about right.
Sounds
Yeah.
sounds about right.
And then
You know?
just lastly on Josh Allen and their win total. So we talked about how he couldn't get over 260 passing yard prop line. He was also 36 and a half was his pass attempt line. He was going under those. His rushing yard line, he was going under most of the time, unless it was like game on the line type stuff. So
Same thing this year.
I just think they're going to take a step back. Their over under is 10.5 wins, and I just feel like taking the under.
Yeah, I mean, I don't typically play these, but I would take the
Yeah.
under on that too.
Because the other thing as well is they play the NFC West. So they've got San Fran, they've got LA, they've got us, Seattle, and they've got Arizona, who could be better. So I think that that's going to be tough for them. Then their one opponent, their conference opponent is Detroit. So no, but that's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
15. So whoops, there goes my phone. So yeah, that's
Hey,
where.
hold on. Can we recap this and can we go just team by team and I will tell you
Yep.
all again what my futures
Yep.
uh bets, my individual player stat bets are
That sounds
for
great.
this season.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do a quick recap. So we started with the Arizona Cardinals. We
Oh,
both
baby.
really like James Conner,
James Conner to
and I
get
like
in
Marvin Harrison.
end zone. I don't even know what the number is because it hasn't come out yet.
It'll be about
But
65.5, I reckon.
sorry,
I've got it at 65.5
for which?
for James Conner rushing yards.
Oh, you're
Oh,
you're
you're
talking
talking
about week one. I'm talking about
yeah.
season.
Oh, season. Okay, sorry. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
go.
talking about the season, and I'm talking about James Conner getting into the end zone over 9 times easily,
Yeah,
easily, unless he's injured.
yeah.
But easily, if he's not injured, this seems like it's the most obvious thing when I look at that team and I look at every single stat I could possibly think about to 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 say I want to take an over on James Conner finding the end zone this
Well,
year.
we'll see because he's usually a lock to miss about 4 games at least. So,
Doesn't
but
even matter. There's going
I
to be a
like
few
it.
games where he's in there twice. You
Yeah,
know,
I think
if
he has the
he
best season of his career.
he's got to play 9 games in order to hit that.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Bijan Robinson,
Bijan.
baby.
Yeah, these
Bijan
are
Robinson. And,
guns.
and this is a direct correlation off of talent and a quarterback that understands talent. So Bijan Robinson, his receiving total, I don't know what it is, but I have a feeling that it's going to reside somewhere in between the 500 and 600 mark.
Mhm.
Um, and without a doubt in my mind, Bijan Robinson is going to blow that out of the water. I think he's actually going to probably have close to 800-900 this year.
Yeah.
And that's just because that Kirk Cousins knows how to find the golden pony on the field at all times.
What about, okay, let me workshop this idea. I'm not going to lock it in, but
Yeah, sure.
Michael Penix finishes with more
Stop.
passing yards than Kirk Cousins.
Stop. You just think that Kirk
Let me
Cousins is going to get injured
let
again.
me workshop it. But
No way.
can't you see? Can't you see the Falcons come out the gate? They lose like the first couple of games. They lose to
They won't.
Pittsburgh. They lose to KC. They
They
lose like
won't.
divisional games to the Saints and the Bucks, and then the Panthers. And they're like 1-5 or 2-5 or
They
whatever.
won't though. They
And
won't.
the crowd is calling for Kirk Cousins' head because he sucks because he hasn't fully recovered from the ankle from the torn Achilles. And they're like, "We need Penix. We drafted Penix. Bring him out here." I'm just saying.
Hey,
I'm not
Kirk
saying.
Cousins,
I'm
Kirk
just
Cousins
saying.
with one foot, with no feet, can make better decisions on the football field
No, we
than Michael
cannot.
Penix can. With no feet, none,
All right.
stilts.
Nah.
Give
All right.
give him 2 crutches,
That
and
might
he will
that might
make better decisions than Michael Penix will
that might
at
be
this
that
point
might be
in
the
his
bet. We'll
career.
see. We'll see. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens. Give me your fave. You like Lamar.
I love Lamar Jackson over rushing total. And John, you said it's probably going to reside somewhere around
Probably
800.
800. Yeah. I like Derrick
Yeah,
Henry,
yeah.
man. I'm all over Derrick Henry.
Oh, yeah, trust me, I like Derrick Henry too. I think the rushing game is going to be very strong. But in professional sports, when an athlete decides to lose 14 pounds, there's a reason. You spend your entire season maintaining weight or moving weight for a reason.
But I
And
feel like you need to bulk up in order to break tackles as a running back.
no, it's not about breaking.
I
It's
need
not
to,
about
yeah.
breaking tackles.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think it's about breaking tackles. I think it's
Yeah.
about, as you get older, it becomes more difficult for the acceleration. It becomes more difficult for the elusiveness.
Yeah.
The only way that you're going to be able to maintain that is by dropping weight. getting lighter and staying more agile. The wear and tear on your knees and everything, it gets. I mean, I'm 36. I go out in my backyard and I do sprints, and
Mhm.
I'm dogged. Like I am dogged. My knees hurt, everything hurts, and I don't play professional sports. I
Yeah,
can only
slight
imagine when
difference.
you're taking the hits.
Yeah,
Give me Lamar Jackson over 800 and whatever the fuck, 800 and something
yeah.
rushing yards. Whatever the line comes out, give me the over. I'll play it up to about 1,000.
And the final team, the Buffalo Bills. I think we are pretty big Ray Davis guys this year.
Yeah, Ray Davis. This is
Yeah.
it. Over 500 and something, whatever. It's going to be between 500 and 600 rushing yards, my guess. If it's higher than that, I don't blame the odds makers for making it higher than that, but something tells me it'll be between 500 and 600. 550 sounds about right. Yeah, it
All
depends
right.
on those preseason, I think, but give me the over.
Yeah. Next week, we will be talking Carolina, Chicago, Cincinnati, and Cleveland. But until then, Sully, send us out, bud. It's good to be
Hey,
back.
yeah, it's really good to be back. It is. I was a little rusty this show, not gonna lie to you, but
It's also
you
like
know
1
what?
a.m. where you are past that.
Yeah, I'm tired,
Oh,
man.
I'm
But you
sorry,
know
man.
what? I'm
I'm
not. I'm
sorry.
not. I'm not. Well, yeah, technology failures too. I'm not tired enough to not talk about football because I'm that fucking excited for it to be back. So, John, I just got to say, it's good sitting in this chair having this conversation with you. It's good agreeing with some shit.
Yeah,
Like that's
I know.
weird. Strange. The only
Last
thing I
year,
don't
we
agree with.
disagreed on
Get
a
out of here with
heap
your
of
Michael Penix takes. Like, get out of here.
No,
Like
but
you're.
last year we disagreed on most things. So this is interesting to see how this
Yeah, I know.
changes.
This is weird. This is very weird to
Yeah.
me. This is probably just gonna be a colossal failure for both of us. But no, you know what? To be honest with you, I feel really good. I feel really good about the way that we both see the season going, and I have a strong feeling that we had a strong year last year.
Hmm. This year's going to be even better, man.
I think
It's going
this
to be
year's
even
gonna
better.
be a really strong year for us.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell
Thanks
yeah.
for listening, everybody. We're good. This whole team preview thing is a long grind.
Mm-hmm.
Till the season starts, this is a grind.
Like 2 months, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll grab snippets of content out of this. But if you're listening for the whole thing, I commend you because this is a grind.
All right, bud.
All right, see you, buddy.